Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. You all ready to start? Freaking another gosh dang episode. I'm embarrassed now. Seventh expansion. Manga Gamer. Whew. Welcome back. Welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. I cried last episode, so the name is fitting. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Tamatake-san. Okay. It's been a long wait. I know you've all been waiting. What happened last time? So much happened last time. Man, it was a little intense last time. We found out that the whole village might be in on a huge conspiracy to murder people. We learned that every single person who has died so far has been either associated or directly related to every single person in our middle school or high school or wherever we are. And Mion seems to be way more involved in all this than she was letting on, and I feel a little heartbroken about that. I feel betrayed, but it's time to start this. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times and I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is Mayabara Residence. Oh, he's alive! Hello! Oh, he's alive! Hello! This is Mion. How are you doing?
Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi's resting now, but shall I put him on?
Sorry, it's hard to figure out. Huh? Is this his dad? Oh, shit.
Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry.
Wah! Idiot. You fell for it. Huh?
Keiichi-chan!
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact I couldn't say no saddened me.
I'm relieved that you seem well. Rina was really worried, you know. Sakuro-chan was happy, said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate, he's sick.
Heh, looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it.
Well, you know. So, Keiichi-chan. Is now a bad time to come pay you a visit?
A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. Ooh.
My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them. So I'll bring you some.
Hey now, you'll catch my cold.
Not to worry. Both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See you. Be there in a bit.
She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too? Uh-oh. That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion... I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. Ooh, that's a terrifying doorway, bro. It's scary.
How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest?
I did just that.
Thank goodness. You look well. I was worried.
Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, but Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions.
I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it.
You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen.
Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made.
Rena held out a package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. He was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion.
Yep. There's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one.
It's the one with the knife in it, bro.
This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow.
Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities?
Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow.
Man, what are you doing to me? What are you gonna do to my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? What are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
Mi-chan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry.
Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entrance was a mess.
You're right. Let's get going. Ah, by the way, Kei-chan.
Yeah? Ugh. Starting off heavy.
What did you eat for lunch?
The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so insane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oshi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read it too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun?
The glimmer in Rina's eyes had changed at the same point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me.
Well, was it good?
Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusual low tone. Almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was.
Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he?
Flop! The package with mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh?
Oh, Keiichi-kun. Who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder?
I could feel the back of my throat growing dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How did you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know.
Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever.
So, K-chan, what did you talk about? Seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too.
We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you, Arena.
Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that?
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide.
Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that.
I couldn't even shake my head. I took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down.
That's true.
That's true. We should both head back home.
As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about to close, it opened again, slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered through the narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
See you, K-chan.
Yeah.
I'd hate if you miss school tomorrow, all right?
Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle, even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oshi-san and I talked about. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Oshi-san met me, just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what are they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oshi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oshi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Urashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rina, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough to let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Miyabara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down! Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oshi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. I think they did have ulterior motives. I don't know what you're talking about. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rina. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oshi-san, and Rina was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rina, and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out in my nose, my ears, as I squeezed my head. Okay. Thinking about that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. Vomit on a sweater already, Mom, spaghetti. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. You still do? When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really cute. Mion is already a good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. I think Satoko, personally, feels more like a victim in this situation. She feels like she's in the same bracket as I am in their group. Because I mean, like, she lost her parents, and then the next year she lost her aunt and her brother. And now she's just an orphan. Same with Rika-chan. Anyway, yeah, Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends! But after hearing about the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oshi-san and Tomataki-san, when I was told about Oshiyama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oshi-san that Mion, Rina, and Satoko and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oshi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomataki-san the night of the Tanagashi. If I just hadn't gotten the strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't. That's right. So that's why they bleeped Tomataki-san. That's why they killed Tomataki-san. That impotent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Oshi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everybody was warning me better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomataki-san and Oshi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oroshiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze. I was lethargic, feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. Ah, that reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Rina made. I remember the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, E. Now then, they said Rina made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rina had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, one can tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rina's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma had made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remember correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rina? She probably only made one. She probably spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one Rena had made was this one. E! For a moment I thought it maybe had been a trap Mion laid out, as she knew I'd pick up on that, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first, a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was a little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factor would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had one bite of Rena's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that it could cause an upset. Chew. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What is this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi. I was eating as fast as I could. I slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it, and yes, there was a hole for where thread goes through it, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did just look like a sewing needle. What did I mean by it looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I wonder what was inside that little mochi thing. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain in the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. A sharp taste of bile irritating the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with that mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat! Plop! Splort! I tossed the wretched mochi against the wall. Why against the wall? The geometrical patterns that scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they considered me an enemy. and they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I crushed my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a boiling, bottomless marsh. Oh! Ogre abyss. Ogre marsh. I've received new tips. What's a medicine that makes you commit suicide? And threat. Huh. We should view these tips. We got what's a drug that makes you commit suicide? And threat.
Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves?
Not directly, no.
That's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly?
Something that puts you in a suicidal mental state like that?
That's hard to say.
What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. No shit. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressive state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That was an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide.
That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so.
There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire.
I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide.
That's how it goes, I guess. That's why patients are given sedatives during the time that keep them from acting on their impulses.
Then was Tamatake bipolar?
People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm, as though going through withdrawal, is completely different.
Tamatake's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide.
There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. Is that true? That's crazy. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdose are also reported to cause erratic behavior. I don't know what that is. That's a sleep aid. Really? Like that monkey they gave Xanax to and he ate that woman's face. There were no signs of stimulants.
Are there any other possibilities?
All I can think of is that there's some sort of illness. It's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibit none of them. I wonder if there's something that could happen more spontaneously.
Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden.
Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility.
Could you explain it to me in simple terms? English, egghead.
Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl and they made him go haywire. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill, just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely, but of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry at me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. You take care now. All right. That's interesting. I've never heard of those before. All right. Now we're going to go through threat. Herm. Those guys just now. They had national debt badges. Diet. Then it's prefectural assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city councilor are related. It's dirty what is what it is. Shouting at each other's name during elections. Well, one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of an election? As long as they have no prior consolation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division because I'm dumb. There was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki. Wait. There was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor member Sonozaki. The same Sonozaki or two different Sonozakis? I know Mion's last name is Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. Came to me. In that face. That night when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. Counselor barked at me and the police chiefs instead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki are both intimidating. Our short-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. Jeez. A petition with your name came up in regarding how the investigation of Hinazawa incident is being handled. Goodness me. I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? Oh wait, this might be the other guy. I've already got my hands full with Tamataki's death, actually. Definitely him. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Whew! That was quite a feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet's feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. A taxi! I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before the retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already a goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. I'll see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oshi-san. Yeah. The past incidents were all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believed it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're gonna be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you gonna pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Hokkaido? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Tsushikino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension calculated based on their monthly salary. If you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated. That's a crazy bonus. And you get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and pension is quite a bit. I expect nothing less from exemplary from our egghead chief. I expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief. But, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's saying exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course, I don't want it. I'd want it. If I can get it, I'd want it. You'll get it. You're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up, Mr. Driver. Thank you very much. Closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh, man. I wonder if I really can repay that loan. Why does he laugh like that? All right. I think we're ready to continue. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. All the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it was as if I completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... What am I looking at? Eek! I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door.
Whoa! Keiichi, what's the matter?
Sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest. But it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance fell off. I felt feverish even though that it was clear to me that I was still not well. I felt feverish enough that it was clear enough to me that I was still not well.
Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school?
I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? It would have fucking hurt. Or what if it had pierced my tongue? It would have hurt. There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think it was all that it was. If I really wanted to kill me, then if they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle. Meaning I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make
it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine?
Yeah, kinda. Something about my mom's dubious gave bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son's missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill.
It'd be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get up.
They say wellness
is a state of mind.
I'd heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone.
Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Rita-chan comes to get you.
Ooh. Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up and skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty about it for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said, and she left yesterday, "I'd hate if you missed school tomorrow," came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying, "Don't be absent." Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Oshi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect, it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. And it seems that was something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea that I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. I don't know about that. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. What was it? What I did, really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I'd just forgotten everything and kept living on, like I had been, I'd be forgiven.
Keiichi, your food is gonna get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Rita will be here if you don't hurry.
Coming! I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. Don't be a jerk, Keiichi. Seemed like I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Given yesterday's event, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened in the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I'd normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down.
Ding dong.
I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. Huh! That chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along.
Come on, Rita-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry.
My mother merely smiled and gloomy face. My mother's merry smile and gloomy face were polar opposites. Oh, my mother's merry smile and my gloomy face. Stay with me now. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side, was it Rena? Was it the Rena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual.
Morning!
An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway.
I came since Kichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today? I wonder.
The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday, pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death and the terminal illness and suicide and the lynching and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget it all. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary, of course. Forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Rena once again asked to make sure.
Can you make it to school?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great! Then let's go. Mi-chan is waiting.
Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find my hint of dissent in her expression. I couldn't find a hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. Where the music cut out. Oh, there we go.
But you see, Satoko-chan was so insistent she could do it.
As we were walking, Rena talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual. Then
Satoko-chan is so clumsy. She failed no matter how many times she tried. Oh, she was so cute.
everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense. So I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us.
Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Rina-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead.
Oh, does Mion-chan look bad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun.
As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbor, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue.
Nah.
Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile.
Keiichi-kun smiled.
Huh? What? Rena stopped and stared at me.
I was thinking you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun, but now you seem fine. Fine!
With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maribara, how can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today. I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hope that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing I'd wish for. I want what happened in the past few days, more specifically from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. Wonder how many times I'd wished for these past few days. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I think it might have just become reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling.
So, Keiichi-kun, those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all?
The vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Rena was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that.
Keiichi-kun?
I was reluctant to give an answer. Rena stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maribara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I need to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and my mouth had gone dry, and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Duh. Rena playfully mimicked what I said, and I finally squeaked something out.
Rena's reaction was still normal. Seems that there wasn't a long of a pause as I had thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Rena's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well.
I see. So did you eat all of them? I wonder.
My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the soling needle? Was that what she was asking? If I had swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared of my wits, but that's how I played it.
Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made?
That homework was due today?
Yeah, it's due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you.
We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then I'd think this was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena.
Guys!
I recalled that unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Rena's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Oshi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa when she was suspended from school. Seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all the windows, all throughout her school. Just imagining going through your own school, breaking the windows with a bat, swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. That noise kind of scared me a little bit. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. Wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Walk, wind up. Walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with Rena smiling at me right now, but I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant piercing sound of shattering glass, the crunching noise as Rena treads across the broken shards walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight of Rena bursting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Rena to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. That's not to say that they're looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could to protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Rena's new target. What would Rena have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims, meaning I would be the next window. Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed.
Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over again, like I was one of those windows. I crouched down on the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hit me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing that over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent, it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make a pleasant sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out. But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They gained nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Oh. Eventually there would be a faint sound similar to when you crack open a walnut and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calm down my heart, I recalled what Oshi-san had told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up, and quite a bit of it. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Rena was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. Seems that Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then what Rena did was she was saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Orashiro-sama. Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Orashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oshi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not the some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was Rena? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Orashiro-sama's curse. In the aftermath, Rena had admitted to the doctor that it was because she was possessed by Orashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Orashiro-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Orashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying it was Orashiro-sama's curse was to blame. Which was the better choice, accepting that Orashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Rena and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue that same as always. I wanted to believe that. But that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being a human or cursed, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all.
Keiichi-kun! You've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder?
Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there was no way Rena could have done such a terrible thing. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I slipped into the classroom. The chalk dust went in my eyes, including a brief moment of agony, inducing.
Ho, 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 ho. How befitting for the Toronto, Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rina.
Good morning, Sadako Rika-chan.
Not quite the mood for it. I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself when I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently.
What's this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet.
Yeah. Take it easy on him today, Kay.
Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit.
Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest?
It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Rina, but Mion was already a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gauge from yesterday. Yeah, morning.
What's with the unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you?
Because I ate them, I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but I quit. Were left over.
Huh? What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one is Rina's?
It's E.
I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Keiichi-kun.
Sheesh. You can't help it. Time for your penalty.
Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversation up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maribara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Higurashi when they cry. Wow. Dude, Keiichi's a fucking prisoner now, dude. He's got to freaking eat his toast and like it, too. And the whole town took a whole big, fat, sloppy shit in his toast. This free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oshi-san multiple times, I could see it as I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understanding things. It probably had no meaning behind stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me, they were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was using this seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn! I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never! But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all their suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Rina and the rest of them. Were they actually aiming to kill me? Yes. The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unreasonable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Marabara? Yes. The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have been just an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Rina and Mian had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Rina just corrected me for lying, and Mian only asked me about what I had for lunch. Rina was standing outside the door, eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. Yeah, that was scary. She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside your room? And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Oshi-san, didn't you? About what Rina did to her former school. But at the hospital, she said it was Urashio-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Marabara. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments afterwards. Afterwards, I had to look around to check if anyone else had heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rina and the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends who had been happily laughing together up until last Sunday now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so I could hear it. Why are you still talking to yourself? There was one thing now I understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rina and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oshi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made the resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I'd probably have happily jumped into that circle.
My, Keiichi-san. How rude of you to even think about leaving.
The way Satoko spoke was so typical and familiar it almost physically hurt.
Huh? Keiichi-kun? Is today not a good day? I wonder. And we were going to win big together. Hello.
Seeing Rina's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Oshi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from others by lying to me. Slap! Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face.
Keiichi-kun!
Yeah, was Rina really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me if it was a hoax. I don't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. Gah! Yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive?
Are you alright? Does your head hurt?
Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Rina.
You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself?
Maybe I should accompany
you home. I wonder.
No, it's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. I just had the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mian pouted unhappily.
Since Keiichi was absent, was so bent on revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before too.
Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch. How pathetic.
I wouldn't fall for such dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head.
Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate.
It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. I'll see you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind. Took off my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward. Hard in that heart, Keiichi Maebara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them. Because weren't they my friends? I hate them. Part of me lamented my naivete. My naivete. While another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my consciousness was being ripped out of my body. If this was what Urashiro-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Urashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believe in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist, so why don't you just, leave me alone, dog? So seriously, give me a break. I beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he had just reached a good point to take a break or he was in a slump.
So yeah, he doesn't understand the motivation creators have.
Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it?
I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business...
I wasn't able to pick out much of my mom and my dad's conversation, but I couldn't tell it was a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Okay. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same point process I had going all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted. People I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could 100% trust. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that happened up till now, would they understand? Wouldn't you just be placing a target on their back too? Rena, for example. That neighborly Rena who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day, and sometimes brought over a share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad would understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off into a psychiatrist in the brink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in that relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victim in past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maebara family had to have an accident or just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary could put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how do they know what I knew? As long as they don't know, my parents might fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on the top of my conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oshi-san. Him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oshi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him, meaning it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then, when the fish started gathering around, Oshi-san would pull up to the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So, then what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Oshi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oshi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa. So if I phoned him in the moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I'd just have to hide out there until Oshi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, it would probably be best if I concealed a weapon for things when they get rough. Typically, they would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. I remember there was a metal bat at school. Wait. Like a weapon you'd carry around with you all times? A knife would make way more sense. You can use a knife for like literally everything. It's like a utility. A fucking metal bat? If you're walking around with a metal bat, people are gonna think you're fucking dangerous. Or on the baseball team. Actually, yeah, you're probably just going for the baseball team. I can't argue with your logic, Keiichi. I could be defined with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. That's what I'm saying. I could go to school every morning and secure it. Just possessing a weapon would be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing. Insurance. It could be something like a note or memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oshi-san should be able to avenge my death. It's like Rorschach. It's like Rorschach in Watchmen. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Beribara, am in fear of my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I don't know why they're after my life. Rina and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof. And that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic message? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Orishiro-sama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if I was too obscure of a location, then there was a risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick the folded note on the back of it with Scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I need to set up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles until I was satisfied that I made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me.
What is it, Keiichi?
I have a favor to ask you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah?
If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy are having something urgent they're talking about.
I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both my parents' eyes went as wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So please.
What's the matter? Keiichi, did something happen?
Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, it was a normal response for when someone's son suddenly talked about a subject like this. If I had a 14-year-old kid and they suddenly said that, I would be terrified. Unironically. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now, I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood, leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Especially if they ended it like that. If they're just like, hey guys, if I die tonight, don't look under my bed. Okay, good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed. Not when I still knew nothing. Wow. Whew. What a spooky chapter. Wow. I feel like I got chills. Not feeling so hot. Man. Pursue the truth behind the crimes. Nice. Alright, I want to see new tips.
Keiichi's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood.
I wonder. Maybe he's on his period.
Good one, Mion.
Mii-chan, that's gross.
Yuck, 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 yuck.
What do you think? Don't know.
Could be that K-chan. Maybe. I don't know.
That day Kei-chan was in the car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right?
Yeah. No mistake.
That Ushi, he probably fed him something fishy.
He was so serious. Keiji-kun's face was so pale.
You see, You might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-sama.
Wait, huh? Huh? What do you mean?
Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie.
Oh? Is that so?
Here before last week when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Ushi.
Now that you mention it, it happened before Satoshi-kun transferred out.
Transferred? You're so sweet, Rina.
Oh, transferred? You're so sweet, Rina.
So this time, he has appeared before Kichi-kun. So Kichi-kun is going to be demoned away too?
An empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Okay. Whew. There's some interesting elements to this story, I gotta say. Like, the town's all in on it, right? Or, I'm assuming, at least most of the town is in on it, if not the whole town. No, it's gotta be the whole town. The whole town's in on it. And they've, like, convinced themselves that, like, legitimately any outsider is a threat. Like, even just Ushi-san, who is a police officer and just was asking people what happened, like, they all think that he's the reason why people disappear now, because he talked to them one time. I don't know. Interesting. They got, like, a very scary mob mentality going on. Alright. We're gonna save real quick. Alright. And we are going to continue. Scroll on my window. This is the first time I'd ever woke with such clarity. It was 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I had made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed. I changed quickly and descended the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mom was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday, I just unilaterally decided that I would be leaving early today, so I couldn't be helped. I slathered jam on some bread and topped it with instant coca. Just as I was finishing up breakfast, my mom rose groggily from her sleep.
My Keiichi. You're up early. Is there some sort of school event?
Not really. Answering bluntly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread and down my throat.
You're leaving already? What about lunch? If you don't want a bit, if you wait a bit, I can make it.
If I wanted her to make my lunch, then it would end up being the same time as usual. If I did that, it would raise the chances of me running into Rina and Mion on the way. Yes, from today onwards, I was going to go to school alone. I'll be fine for today.
Then what will you do for lunch?
I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store.
Really? Then here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring back the receipt.
I took the 1,000 yen bill from Mom and slipped it under my pocket. How much is that? Like $100? No, it's probably like $80. It's still a lot. It's pretty early. It's Rina-chan up. It's pretty early.
It's pretty early. Is Rina-chan up this early as well?
Nope, just me.
Did you tell Rina-chan that you're leaving early?
I have no reason to tell her every little detail now, do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. Tell Rina that I went ahead when she comes.
Hey, Kichi, wait!
It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I could only hope that they didn't get involved. I hate this doorway, bro. It's really gross. It was safer that way. This looks like It looks like a crime scene. I don't know. It looks like, yeah, I don't know. It looks like a picture from a crime scene. My mom's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. Up until now, I had always walked down the same path the same time each day. So I always met with the same people in the same places. But today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Rena wasn't in the spot where we usually met, and there wasn't anyone at the spot where we would have met up with me on. The length of the trees, shadows, the morning air, and the brightness of the sun, it was a completely different type of morning from what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. It left me with the impression that I had destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before it had enough time to prepare for all the props needed to deceive me.
My, Keiichi-tun, you're up so early today. Is everything...
Oh, is this a random person?
My, Keiichi-kun. You're so early today. Is everyone meeting early this morning?
The person who called out to me was someone we always pass by as we were taking a walk along the edge of the fields. Their name was, I forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot where we usually passed each other. I woke up early today, so I thought it'd be a good change of pace. That's all. Nothing else. Don't ask about it. I threw out a random excuse.
What about Rita-chan and Mion-chan? Are you by yourself today?
Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of question my mom was asking, so I answered them in the same uninteresting, vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Rena was each time I passed by someone, but maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together so amicably. Even I felt that if I let my guard down, we could still be Stop it, Keiichi! Don't think about that anymore. You spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it would be to go soft, didn't you? A car horn flared from out of nowhere. Even though I was walking lost in thought, that horn was way too close. The mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. I'd seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder, that the van was swerving into my direction to avoid them. That blissfully ignorant train of thought delayed me from realizing something much, much more important. That large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with a painfully cold liquid. In that moment, the scene before me, no time instead, had frozen. In the silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van so close that I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half, twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause, and I would probably be plowed over, caught in this silly pose. Bend my upper body over towards the paddy by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away with just being hit by the side view mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, the temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in my contorted position. Splash! Damn, somebody fucking hit him? That's insane. Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy paddy by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched. But the choice I had made in that instant was unmistakable for the best. I was covered in mud, but the alternative was being hit by a car, so it was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising out from the paddy, I had enough in me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. I'm not sure if I was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. I would not yell at the van. I would fucking run away, dude. If I was still conscious after that, and I thought people were trying to kill me, I would fucking run. Wait, damn it! This was what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than any physical wounds. I slogged through my muddy patty and made my way back onto the road. This is a crime, goddammit. Shit, I'll track you down and sue you. If I go looking for a van, I'm sure to find in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, and it had become so narrow that one car could barely fit through. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed down in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was closer to my side of the road than the other when it went past me. Even as I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud rolling up within me. That wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? Thinking back, I did feel that there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right. As soon as I parted ways with that person taking a walk, I had the feeling the whole time. If I had wanted to pass me, then it had no shortage of chances. Normally, I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner. But I was lost in thought, and now I was kicking myself for not realizing it was there sooner. And then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, he floored it. If I had hesitated for even a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. No shit, it wouldn't be a laughing matter. You'd be dead, bro. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, and the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in, there was no doubt about it. That van was intentionally trying to hit me. A cold, vicious sweat seeped from my scalp and slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiichi. But also, don't be so naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, the next time they would use a more reliable method. If that time came and I was acting like I was now, I being covered in mud was the price I had to pay for my own naivete. Covered in mud but without injury. Not even a sprain. How? You got hit by a fucking car. I know it was the side view mirror, but you fucking spun in the air, bro. They hit you so hard you spun in the air and you fell on your ass. That would fucking hurt, by the way. That would hurt so bad. Hit with a side view mirror when a car is driving. Fast enough to try to kill you. I guess this was what you would call the silver lining. The fucking grace of God is what I would call that, bro. I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I'd suspected only Rena and the others up until now. No, it was because I had suspected them that I had believed that there was no other enemies. Oshi-san had said so, didn't he? There was a possibility that all the families of the village were involved. Was I really mired so deeply in the situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Yeah. Would it be the safest just to hole myself up in my house? You should get your family out of this fucking village, bro. But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. That was just too horrifying of a thought. I recalled the tales of Oshi-san told me of when Hinamizawa was still called Onigafuchi. A frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must pretend not to see it. The enemy were numerous, all the village families. The villagers, with their unwavering faith in the curse, would do nothing to help me. The strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the work of man, I would catch a glimpse of Orashiro-sama's curse. And when I suspected it was Orashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No, what I really truly wanted to know was, how did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, an answer in a form I could understand will appear. I don't care when that will happen, because until then, I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight and will keep me alive. Why are you still going to school after this, bro? I think what you do in this situation is immediately after getting hit by a car, you should go to your parents and tell them that everybody's out to kill you. And if they don't believe you, get fucking Oshi-san on the horn, bro. They'll believe him. He's a fucking cop. Take a slight water break. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. I circled around the school grounds impatiently. But all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing that I could bring into the classroom easily. Then I had an epiphany. That's me having an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If it was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. I could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early, no one else was here yet. I wondered, what could I find in the classroom? I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat, but it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked at school. But such soft ideas would no longer protect me. Yeah, I know, right? You got fucking hit by a car on your way to school. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had once thought To think they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had once thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. I don't understand why you think anywhere in this town is safe. That was an incredibly frightening thought. But I believe that not considering the worst case scenario would have been even more frightening. Bro, everybody knows where you live. Anyways, I will survive. So long as I've lived, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. Impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there would be anything that could be a weapon in this classroom. In case of emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers I had come to use for personal storage. Search through Mion's locker. She got a bunch of weird shit in there. The locker that Mion used to... Oh, let's go, bro! The locker that Mion used to store her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in the class all lined up. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. I should go change later. Go change now. But first I needed a weapon. One of my classmates came. It would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. I swiftly began opening lockers one by one. They were mostly just filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella? If I could find anything better, this would have to be my weapon. I was about to give up with finding anything decent, then I opened my locker, had exactly what I wanted. It was without a doubt a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beat up, but there was no doubt it was usable. In that locker that reeked of mold, there was also hung a baseball uniform. It was probably the locker of a student in a Pee-wee league or something like that. If that was the case, then he probably asked for it back. At the time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in from the hallway. Amongst them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko.
Good morning.
My, you're quite early this morning, Keiichi-san.
I nonchalantly hid the bat I was holding behind my back.
What? What is with your outfit? You're covered in mud.
Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm gonna change now, so cut me some slack. With that said, I began taking off my clothes. Satoko began to blush, just as I expected her to.
Changing in front of a lady. Have you no tact at all?
I would think that a lady staring at someone who was changing would be the one lacking in tact. There's no changing room for the boys, so just deal with it. Go to the bathroom, Keiichi. As Satoko feigned disgust, she went into the hall still blushing. Conversely, Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika-chan is a lady as well, then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching.
I am not a lady, so this is fine.
So she liberally pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Then starting now, you're a lady.
If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must.
Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika-chan stopped suddenly and turned back towards me.
Are you going to start playing baseball?
It seems that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just you know. I was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd try practicing my swing.
I think it's wonderful you're taking care of your health.
She was also she was talking like an old lady despite her appearance. After saying that, Rika-chan started to leave again, but stopped and looked back to me once more.
Please don't lose that bat.
It seems she already knew I took it out of someone's locker. There's no name on the locker door. I don't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. It's probably Satoshi's. It wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was opened. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class began because I came so early. I took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard. That was, of course, to practice my swing. I needed to make it known I would always have a bat on me so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight had become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. I might get muscle pain if I just suddenly started swinging. I should at least start out with some warm-ups. You don't know how to swing a fucking bat? I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary. I think everybody would. You don't have a fucking baseball team. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I gripped the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make it a reliable weapon when I needed it to be. Of course, I could only pray that the moment I needed to use this bat would never come. When I had baseball, a lot of the bats were hollow, like the metal ones, so they were like kind of light. I don't know. Just carrying it around could deter attacks against me. At least that's what I hoped. Huh?
Kei-chan, what are you doing?
Being bombarded with such a hysterical voice, I jumped.
Whoa, Keiichi-kun, are you on the baseball team? The baseball team?
It was Rina and Mion. I was surprised to hear you went off ahead.
I was surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan?
Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. You could say it's part of my diet if you want. What championship?
Diet? Kei-chan, are you really that fat?
Bet you didn't know, I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and it jiggles.
Plump and jiggles?
Rina, you don't have to imagine something weird like that.
To disrupt Rina from imagining something that vulgar, I ruffled her hair messily. Oh, that was me.
Well then, hope you make it religious at that. Hope you make it to regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on.
Regionally speaking, it seems Oshima High is pretty strong. They say their southpaw Kamada-kun is amazing. Good luck.
Seems they've made me out as some kind of local prodigy, but oh well. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and the catcher. I pitch the ball, then run past the ball, just threw it and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? I pounded the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverberation traveling through the bat stung my hands. If they make me smile like that, I'll... Don't allow anyone to close to me. Don't trust anyone, no matter how many times I tell myself that. If I made them smile like that, I'll... I already knew quite well that there were demons dwelling in the smiling friends. Smiling friends. But I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Rina confessed to the doctor? Were they simply being possessed by Urashio-sama? In other words, did a supernatural being like Urashio-sama really exist? And was it possessing everyone to try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along and everything was all just Urashio-sama's fault. You damned fool, Keiichi Marabara! Come on now! I yelled out, drawing out all my power from the pit of my stomach and raised the bat violently in the air. Stop being so soft! As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over. With every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget it. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Smash. Like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up from my rag breathing, I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. Bro, they probably watched you do all of that, I'm not gonna lie. You're so fucking stupid, Keiichi. Why would you beat the ground? You should have practiced your swing, bro. You're so stupid. He immediately folded. He was like, I have to make it look like I'm practicing for this championship that doesn't exist. And then immediately he's like beating the ground with a bat, bro. He's so stupid. I hate him. I gasped with a sudden realization. I was beating the grat. Whatever. That was the final bell. As I felt all the tension drain from me, I let out a deep breath. My mind was in the muddled state for much of the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but it didn't feel like I was asleep either. I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but I felt a kind of relief that the sanctity of the school part of my daily life had yet to be violated. How long would I have to keep on living like this? I could only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me.
Keiichi-kun, come on. It's club time, it's club time.
The sound of Rina's voice brought me back to my senses.
Come on, Kei-chan, stop spacing out. Bring your desk, bring your desk.
Everyone is
moving their desks together as usual.
That's right, it was happy fun club time. If I had no intention of taking part, but I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag and prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to actually say, I'll be going home now.
What's this, Kei-chan? You planning on going home right away again?
Mion sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you just let me be for a while? The tone of their words that spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. It felt like the air in the room had dried out. Satoko looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean I could leave if I wanted. But the collective gaze of the four of them, like the tiny pins used to mount an insect in display, held me in place. Rina was the one who cut through the heavy mood.
Keiichi-kun, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess.
She said in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. If this pain was going to kill me, I wanted to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore at my chest, violently tearing out the pins that held me in place. That's not it at all. I'd only be hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. I firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already sogging from the sweat. Realizing that, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I've become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears pricked up, and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in, and that was why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. Those footsteps had matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person. But I had no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me like that car this morning, till they were in good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. I stopped walking and looked back. The wooded path crowded with trees responded with silence, as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. And just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well, meaning the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof that I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for the presence to panic and start moving again. The trees rustled with the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined in the dissonant chorus, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed, or had I been like this for a whole 30 minutes? It was so hard to breathe that I might have suffocated. It seemed I would be first one to panic. Without a doubt, he was lurking in the shade of that tree with a bated breath. Then, I make the first move. I fix my grip on the bat. I raise it up to my shoulder to be ready to swing it at any time. Hey! I know you're there. With all my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shade of the trees, but the presence in the shade didn't budge. Until the moment I found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them again, but even still, they didn't move at all. Then I'll go over there myself. With all due diligence, I approach, step by step. Stepping into the tree's shadow, I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. Rena. Rena! When she realized I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't accept that silence and screamed to question her.
No, not really. It's just,
Rena was in a panic with tears welling up in her eyes, but it was obvious that she had been following me. What about the club?
Since you're not, I'm not.
That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play.
But I just worried about you.
Thinking about how I'd been acting up until now, I wasn't hard to imagine that my behavior could have been perceived as strange. Serena was concerned at a quick glance. That's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that was really the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like to try to tail me. She should have called out to me when I was leaving and gone on outright with me. But Rena didn't do that. She kept her distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. Then after she realized I noticed she was there, she held her breath and she tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her, but without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me!
Hi-yo.
Still glaring at Rena, I continued walking onwards. After I walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me!
But my house is in the same direction.
Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and moved my bat violently to urge her forward.
I'd like to go home together with you.
Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice she knew would cut into my heart. That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go home together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Rena had understood that I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her again to walk. Rena looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on then, hurry.
I'm going. So please stop with the bat. It's scary.
Rena guarded herself while pointing at me holding the bat. She may have realized that I wasn't planning on using the bat for baseball. I lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened up the way for her. Go! There's no problem now, is there? There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly so as not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop! Then a powerful gust blew past us, barging my face with dust, barraging. The dust got in my eyes and clouded my vision. While rubbing my eyes in my left hand, I swung blindly with the bat in my right, protecting the small opening I had presented. But Rena didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No, she hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. As her skirt scuttled, so did the silence. At that moment, the voice inside me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realizing it, the air around me suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become invisible concrete, like Rena and I were locked in this space. Rena didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. Rena was the first to break the silence. Instantly, she alerted her stance. I felt like I had just witnessed her shift from Rena into that other person who looks like Rena, but the voice was one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice.
Well, excuse me, but, can I ask you something?
Too shy to even turn around, Rena squeezed her voice out desperately as she trembled. What?
Why do you have a bat, I wonder?
The question Rena asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want.
But, you didn't have one up until today. Why so suddenly?
It's alright if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat?
But because Keiichi-kun, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird.
I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for. I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. Is that so weird?
It's weird.
She answered instantly and then annoyed slightly. And that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball. And I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying around a bat. What's strange about that?
Strange? Weird? Definitely. Why is Keiichi-kun also?
Your ramblings annoy me. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to end the conversation. Until my suspicions about Rena were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions.
I'm sorry. Don't get so angry.
Rena still didn't turn around and spat out words of apology one after the next.
Just one last thing. Tell me one last thing.
I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she had been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely. But even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself from moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Rena asked her final question.
Why is that bat the same too?
What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying?
I mean, why is even the bat the same?
I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Rena didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed.
I mean, why is the bat the same as Satoshi-kun's?
Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Rena had tried to cover it up by saying he transferred, but Oshi-san told me quite clearly that he went missing. He was the student who sat at my seat up until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about the disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watanagashi by a drug addict, and not long after that he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were... What? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be? Satoshi Hojo. It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. This was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it?
That's not it.
The way Rena said that made it seem like this bat was something that should never be touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there perplexed and unable to respond. Rena continued speaking without waiting for a reply.
Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi-kun did when it happened to him?
Rena was talking about more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi.
It was the same with Satoshi-kun. He joined the baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball.
What does that have to do with me?
Satoshi-kun also suddenly started walking around with a bat one day. He joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports.
What about it? I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiichi. Rena is trying to tell us something important.
Satoshi-kun also one day came to school all by himself all of a sudden, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly started practicing his swing, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly began carrying the bat around with him, just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day he suddenly
what? Rena had swallowed her words. Rena's sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then I could finally digest the content of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions was exactly the same as Satoshi's. What was the meaning of this? Up until just now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. I had never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything of what he'd done. My actions today should have been my own creation, after all planning I had done. But they had been the exact same as Satoshi's. Then Satoshi, no, more importantly, if both Satoshi and I acted the same, then there was a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Rena, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Rena knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. No, forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Rena knew it was going to happen to me. Answer me, Rena. Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Rena's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. As I faced her, I felt a jolt travel through my entire body.
I told you, Keiichi-kun.
It was that person I didn't know. At least it definitely wasn't the Rina Rugo I'd been talking to up until now. The voice just now didn't have a trace of the trembling or emotion that it had in it before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. That gaze that pierced like a cold needle, a smile on her face that invoked an image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze under the layer of rime. Both Rena's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear from the time before, Rena brought her face close to mine, so close I could feel her breath. Her face had filled my entire field of vision. Then, her sharply shaped lips grew even sharper. Like the curve of a crescent moon, she grinned.
I told you, Keiichi-kun.
After a short pause, Rena repeated the same words again.
Satoshi-kun, you see, transferred out.
Transferred meaning what? What Rena meant must have been some new definition of transfer that was previously not aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I had just heard. All I could do was swallow down my own saliva. It would seem that Rena saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2-3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Rena and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile. That had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she never scoffed at me, nor held out her hand, but I could neither stand nor escape with her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand, but right now, this was useless to me. I was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping from my skin.
But you won't, will you, Keiichi-kun?
Rena finally released me from that cage of time after what felt like an eternity, but her question was missing something important and was incredibly vague. Once again, I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What did she not want me to do?
Transfer.
This is scary, bros. This is scary. Satoshi and I had what? All my well-planned actions throughout the day turned out to have been nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Satoshi, had he really been in the same situation as I was in now? The friend he had gotten along with had changed suddenly, and for no reason, at least none that I had noticed, planned to kill him. Then, fearing for his life as I am, he got a bat to protect himself and carried it around every day to practice his swing, and then one day, suddenly, he transferred. My blood went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting near my heart, it radiated outwards from the top of my heart to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he transferred to? Was he the only one who would be able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Before I knew it, I was at my front door. The frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? It wasn't that odd of an occurrence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the single key attached to my fur seal keychain. Dude, I hate this picture. I stepped into the entryway. Just as I was about to take off my shoes, a chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. You're kidding, right? It had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to be able to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. But there was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiichi. How do you know they're there, even though they're behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I'd hear that sound. That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. Keiichi Maribara, there's no way you could hear that. It was mostly instinct that anything else was warning me of that presence. Common sense was telling me that it was just my imagination. I was just my imagination. There was nobody behind me. I began to erase my mental image of an eerie figure standing behind me. At that same time, I asked myself if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? As an uncomfortable sensation crawled out of my spine. Actually, would it be better if there was somebody there? If there was nobody there when you turned around, would you be able to accept that? I'd be able to answer all those questions just by looking behind me. But I didn't have enough courage to do that simple task. Oh, right. I could try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how I went about it, but just so long as I didn't have to turn around. If I had calmed down and thought about it, I would have known that that wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse, broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. I couldn't feel that contemplating their response. I felt it. There's no way I should be able to do that. There's no way I should be able to do that. Calm down, Keiichi. It's all in your head. That time I was certain I heard it. As if hesitantly trying to answer my inquiry, I was certain I could hear the sound of somebody inhaling. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me, however reckless it was, inspired a primal yet fitting solution to this current predicament. A scream. All the force of my body released from my lungs and throughout my throat, seizing all the process in my head, suppressing all my thoughts and emotions. I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. Until the moment I turned around, until I brought the area behind me into my field of vision, they were definitely there. Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of the persons suspended in empty space. It couldn't be. They were invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but they actually still standing there. As I screamed, all the emotions I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, I was decidedly calm as my emotions' dam collapsed. The turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torment of aggression. That emotion was definitely required to extract myself from the bizarre situation happening right in front of me. In my state of heightened lucidity, I entrusted my body to the fury. The metal bat held firm in my right hand as if drawn there by a magnet. A mid-level sweep would be the hardest attack to dodge. I remembered reading something like that from a book about swordsmanship or something. Rah! I brandished my will to fight. The afterimage of that amalgamation of metal flashed as it swung from left to right, beating against the entryway. The bat slammed to the right wall, the tip rebounding violently. Very calmly, I transferred the force of the rebound into a sweep to the left. The door of the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. Those two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have a great psychological impact on the enemy. I could feel the panic emanating from the place. The attack wasn't the only thing required. I extracted the bat from the cupboard. It was embedded in and screamed as I spun my entire body around in a large arc. Rah! My scream shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Shrek! Without mercy or resentment, my violent strike with certainly fatal force behind it, shattering the top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy, but my ferocity had certainly seemed to impact them. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat, the invisible enemy, there, but not there, disappeared. When I was certain that the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way had it only feigned retreat is now inside my house. Had it only feigned retreat and was now inside my house? Once again, I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presence. But it was gone. I had succeeded in fending it off. At that moment, the tension drained from my body, and I let out a deep sigh of relief. All the emotions I've been holding back chaotically merged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishment, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow into my body. Unable to deal with each individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest exhaustion. Even in this moment, I remained composed. After checking all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went up to my room on the second floor and closed the curtains. I straightened my back and tilted my head back a little. After clearing my mind of all my idle thoughts, I managed to calm down even more. What was that at the front door? There was definitely something there. Thinking about it, maybe it was just an apparition I dreamt up in my confused state, but I really didn't think that was the case. Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. Compose yourself. But no matter how calmly I thought about it, what just happened was a figment of my imagination. I was obviously a supernatural phenomenon, and without a doubt something was behind me. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I had just one piece. Like and subscribe. When I asked, "Who is it?" they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound had clearly reached my ears. The situation was in the right now was still unclear. Either I'd be possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Orishiro-sama's curse, or this was ruse by the villagers who believed it and were imitating it. Either way, their motives were unclear. No roundabout way it had been done was also still a mystery. If I was perpetuated by humans, that would mean admitting that it was Rina and the rest of them doing it, but it would be resolvable. Oshi-san and the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy. But if it was a manifestation of Orishiro-sama's curse, I wonder what would happen. Oshi-san clearly declared that curses didn't exist. At that time, those words were pretty dependable, but as things were now, with the rising possibility that the perpetrators were not human, he suddenly seemed quite unreliable. If I told Oshi-san that this was the work of Orishiro-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but it would go without question that a void would expand rapidly between myself and Oshi-san. With me having so few allies to begin with and not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse or not, there was no merit in doing that. I better keep the facts of what just happened at the doorway to myself. It would be better if I didn't add what happened here to the memo behind the clock. There was still the ever so slightly possibility that I was actually confused when I thought I was composed and I was just going berserk in the entryway. How wonderful would that be if that was really what happened? I think that is what happened. I would be able to refute Orashiro-sama's curse, but if I denied Orashiro-sama's curse, then that would mean admitting that Rina and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Rina and the rest weren't the perpetrators, then that would mean believing in Orashiro-sama's curse. By denying both of those, I would be admitting that to myself I'm losing it. The three options from which I couldn't choose became a trilemma of sorts. They mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my mind, making my head spin. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to cool myself down. Calm down, Keiichi. Accept what has actually happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of that. How wonderful it would be if it turned out I was delirious and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination. Orashiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist and I would still be bestest buddies with Rina and the rest. I would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I'd ever wished for such a thing. I'm so tense right now, dude. But my hands are sweating. Alright. The phone rang noisily downstairs. Generally, there were no calls for me, so I never really answered the phone much. But since my parents weren't here, I had no choice. I squirmed off to bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is Mayabara residence.
Keiichi, this is Mom.
I intuitively had a bad feeling about this. It was because I thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy some things, so I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. The other day we went out as a family and bought a whole case of cut noodles. I wanted to get a bunch of different kinds actually, but they refused since the individual packs were expensive. So instead, I got a whole case of the mega-sized pork, bone, and ginger-flavored ones I liked. But my parents don't like strong flavors and don't touch any of them, so the cupboards were still full of them. So you see, there really isn't a need to go shopping, right?
Keiichi, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Both Mommy and Daddy have to go to Tokyo right now because of work.
Huh? Right now? This was really abrupt.
No, we're already here. We left this afternoon.
Oh my god. They left me. They left me for freaking dead. I'm here alone and I'm gonna get fucking killed. It's quite a distance to Tokyo from Hinamizawa. Gunning at full speed down the highway would still take 6 hours. Dad has a license, but since he didn't like the highway, they likely took the train. It would have taken longer.
I'm thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Daddy's contract. Right now, things aren't going so smoothly.
Now that she mentioned it, I did remember that they talked all the time about how his job prospects weren't looking so good.
Daddy's really sensitive about things like this, so if we leave things like as they are, it will affect his work.
Part of my father's particularly fragile artistic personality. His emotions change as easily as the fall sky. You could also just say he couldn't take certain criticism. But something like that can't be done over the phone.
Keiichi, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyway, it's just faster to talk about it in person, so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings.
As their son, there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work.
So we'll be back tomorrow night. Keiichi, will you be fine on your own?
No! Mom, I won't be fine! I won't be fine! It's not like I'd die or anything. Keiichi, you fucking idiot.
Keiichi, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If there's something troubling you, just talk to us. I believe Mommy will be able to help out.
Yesterday I did bring up if I died rather abruptly, so I suppose they were a little worried. But really I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. But I didn't plan on dying. At least not while I still knew nothing. I would never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive even if I have to gnaw my legs off.
Yeah. See you then. Tomorrow morning, make sure you wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth.
Yeah, see you. The call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings, but Tokyo was far away. They normally did things by phone. The times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. I couldn't say that those circumstances didn't feel strange, or rather, unnatural. Anyway, I only needed to recognize the reality of the situation. That tonight, I was the only one in the house. That when my parents came back for work, I'd be gone missing. Vanished. Looking back at the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Orishiro-sama's curse, it wouldn't seem that strange at all. Come to think of it, it was getting pretty late. I didn't think it was good that the only light in the whole house was from my room on the second floor. It was the same as the broadcasting to the enemy that my parents were gone and this was their chance. First I ran to the living room, flicked on the lights, and turned the TV on the First I ran to the living room, flicked on the lights, and turned the TV on to the First I ran to the living room, flicked on the lights, and turned the TV on to a reassuring volume. Next was the study. I simply turned on the lights and some music. With this, from the outside, it would look like my parents were here. Once again, I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw the veranda and the laundry was still hanging out there, I went pale. That would have made it too obvious. I needed to take it down. I snatched down the laundry haphazardly and erased all traces my mother wasn't there. It should be fine now. Ah! The garage. They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they had gone up to Okinawa Station. The garage was empty, wide open, and in plain sight. This was not good. I panicked and rushed out back to close the normally open garage door. It should be fine now. Ah, I need to get the paper. Mom always got the paper since they left in the afternoon. The evening paper was still out there. My promotion was correct. Premonition. I pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. With this, for sure this time, it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard busted like that from the little freakout was kind of bad. I'll just say I tripped and fell and the bat was holding smashed into it. Even so, leaving it in its current state wasn't good. I tripped and fell into the cupboard, and then I fell into the doorway, and then I fell into the door. Like, there's a little bit more things that are messed up in that room. I should clean it up a little before Mom got back and scolded me. I remember that there was a broom and dustpan in the closet. As I was going to get them, the phone rang once again. Something eerie about that phone ringing, too. I don't know. Hello, this is the Mayabara residence. Oh, is this Keiichi-kun? Is your mother around? She isn't here at the moment. You idiot, Keiichi Mayabara. Don't reveal that your parents are gone. You can follow up. Still, calm down and take care of it. I think she'll be back soon. That wasn't a good response either. Now they might say they'll call again or tell her to call them when she comes back. Then that's fine. It wasn't anything important. Well then, sorry for the bother. The scenario I feel didn't play out well, eliciting a sigh of relief. That call was fortunate in more ways than one. I'd have to deal with more telephone calls coming in from my parents tonight. I was somehow able to deal with the phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. I needed to make up a good story to explain that my parents were home, but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. They were making a tempura and couldn't step away right now. That wasn't good enough. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well. Was that going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on the way back to my room when the phone rang out once more. It was like they were calling because I knew I was going to lie. I didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. They'd suspect my parents weren't here. I should have just taken the phone off the hook under the pretense that I didn't realize it was... I should have taken the phone off the hook under the pretense that I didn't realize that it was. But since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. I prepared myself and lifted up the receiver. Hello? I stopped announcing that this was Mary Barra residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone if I didn't know the identity of. But unlike my unclipped voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and lighthearted. Hello! My apologies for calling so late. This is Oshi from the... Hello. My apologies for calling so late. This is Oshi from the Okinama bookstore. Oshi-san? Is that you, Maybar-san? Good evening. Glad to hear you're doing well. Wait just a moment, please. I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot that just felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oshi-san. Sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? Since then? When was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked about rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke with Oshi-san was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school, I met Oshi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. Then after that, Rina and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Oshi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me? Maybar-san? Huh? Oh, sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything's changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. You should tell him you got hit by a fucking car. Somebody was trying to kill you. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night, when my parents weren't home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely after all. Well, Oshi-san, it seems that someone is after me. Really? It could all just be a coincidence, but that day I missed school when I was sick, the two of them came to check up on me. Which two? Rina and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have just been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. Excuse me. There was a hole to the thread string, though. Not that, Maybar saying the needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where is that needle? That's right. That's it. I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I had overlooked it out of terror, but the needle was a valuable piece of evidence. I had certainly thrown my mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then I had certainly thrown the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. But my prudent mother had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Dang it, Mom! Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? I frantically searched by running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desk, pulling up the carpet when flapping it around, but I couldn't find the needle. Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. I rushed into the kitchen, opened up the lid of the pail, and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in this pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash stack. Good one, Keiichi-kun. I know, I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If it felt like a small prick, I would be able to find it. I know, I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'll be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash in my hand. Filth threw about. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned about such details. I continued for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I still was on the phone. I shouldn't keep Oshi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. I hastily began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words on a red pen, then dashed back up the stairs where I had been keeping Oshi-san waiting for far too long. Hello? How did it go? I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed back then, and I say, it would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe. That's right, the needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oshi-san, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at the time. Did you say the license plate? I could search for it from here. Damn! I just flipped out yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number? I was so focused just protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry. I don't know how much more than that. It was a white van. Nothing to fret, Maybar saying. Anyone would be shaken up after being hit. I guess all of this really isn't a coincidence, is it? Ushi-san started to hem and haw over the other end. I could imagine him folding his arms. Also, Rina is acting strange. How so? What Rita said on the way home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I could say with confidence that Rina knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more to it than just him that's simply disappearing. Rina knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year. What would that be exactly? Rina said, I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end with the same fate as Satoshi. Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you? She said I'd transfer out. Transferring out? Rina said Satoshi transferred out, so given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Oshi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly. Maybar-san, that was probably some sort of threat, or maybe some type of warning. I thought so too. At that point, I started to think, would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened up until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Rina and the others, I was left with Orishiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only other explanation. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Oshi-san, except Rina's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Orishiro-sama's curse being real or everything being part of the conspiracy committed by all of the villagers. Rina was involved. Rina had to know something. Rina was suspicious. What exactly was Rina? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seemed to recall that Oshi-san had admitted that he had dug into Rina's past a little. He was probably just downplaying it when he said, a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Rina. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among the things that were still unknown to me. If Rina was somebody I should expect. No, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight, I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security. I felt like I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use the brute force to easily gain entry, there were no other residents close to the Mayabara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I had never felt as much resentment towards my father's artistic temperance as the fact that he had this huge house built in such a remote location as I did right now. I wondered if I'd still be here by tomorrow morning. Oh, somebody just rang the doorbell. So I had to ask, right now, because I had no idea when the next chance would come. Oshi-san, I have something I wanted to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me. Sure, ask away. Even though he was so far away at the other end of the line, this was the most reliable he had ever felt. I wanted to ask about Rina. about what happened at her previous school. Actually, regarding Rena's... I noticed that sound had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be marking a delivery, and past any sensible time for our neighbor to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I had put in making to look at my parents were home. I needed to answer the door. Hello? May I borrow Sam? Sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm gonna go see who it is. A guest? I see, my apologies. Should we end this phone call now? That would be a problem. No, I'll be back in a second. Do you mind if I just leave the phone on? It's fine, I don't mind. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down the door. I needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Oshi-san did. In which case, it would be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom. I'll just say Mom isn't feeling well and went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake up my mom if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring regular intervals. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I had prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mom's friends.
Good evening.
Rena. There shouldn't be any reason for Rena to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oshi-san about Rena. I wish I could have chalked this up as to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me.
There's nothing this old man doesn't know.
Are you alone, Rena?
Yeah?
It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why did you come here?
Hey, Keiichi-kun, I'd like to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside? I wonder.
It was true that speaking through a chain door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but at my house the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it.
Then, it can't be helped, I guess.
Rena pouted rather sadly, but she kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared more than the possibility that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain was trusting Rena enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. As long as the chain was unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Rena. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up trying to get in the entranceway.
Have you eaten yet, Keiichi-kun?
No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all my time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, I haven't. What about it?
Then good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes.
Rena held out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth.
If I could use your kitchen, I can heat up the miso soup and other stuff.
It's fine. You don't need to do that.
But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiichi-kun not like that kind of stuff? I wonder.
There's no way I would like that. There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radishes, carrots, burdock root, and potatoes, dense and fibrous roots, vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible. You know what? Who am I kidding? Just come on in. I also brought
mice. So, if you microwave it, you can eat it really quickly.
Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup in between ravenous bites. Oh yes, how wonderful it would be to be born Japanese.
Also, I made some more pickles. made some sansai pickles this time.
Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetable called sansai. But I was captivated by her charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep yet light flavor. The vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables from the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake in sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Rugu family with traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they go so well with that fluffy white rice.
And also,
But wait, there's more. So delicious, it seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self who said he'd make what do with a cup of noodles. Rena appeared to be in good spirits and she was offering such a delicious sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut and hunger reared its ferocious head. At the same time, my weariness of Rena suddenly dwindled. Rena did say that she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside, though the possibility that it was laced with poison still had been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then, but the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. No shit. This happy Rena, speaking of this charming dinner, was dependent on one premise, and that premise was that tonight dinner hadn't been made at my house, meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Yeah, it is. Unless she knew. Rena. Did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned out the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Rena was unsure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Rena didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were home or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to the fact that I was as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Rena would be able to do anything to me. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon.
huh? Is that so? Is that so?
I know you went through all that effort and everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly. But some of this could work as side dishes, I think. Oh,
But some of this could work as side dishes, I think.
I'm sorry, we have more than enough already. My mom always makes quite a few sides, so...
Huh? You have side dishes?
With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her questions apologetically, but the feeling I had tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Rena was saying. Rena was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well.
So, Keiichi-kun can cook. What did you make, I wonder?
No, well, it's not that Rena had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiichi-kun?
It wasn't me who made them. My mom did. She's making them. Right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Rena fell silent at that moment. At the moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes.
How about I try guessing what Keiichi-kun's dinner will be?
It doesn't matter what I'm gonna eat.
Let's see.
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Rena was firmly in control. I felt like I was being interrogated.
Your dinner, I wonder. Is it something that can be made with just hot water?
Hey, now stop with the insults. I can't believe you belittled my mom's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity already. It's that amazing. I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grit my teeth quite enough. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Rena showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness.
Keiichi-kun, did your mother really leave you dinner?
No, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Rena had taken that assertion of mine that my mother was home and making dinner right now and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Rena became.
Hey, Keiichi-kun,
At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept up from the gap in the doorway.
is your mom home? I wonder.
I couldn't keep on this charade anymore. Rena, she knew full well that my parents weren't home, but I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here and were having dinner soon. That was the situation I concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying from the surrounding air. Rena's eyes were becoming more frigid, piercing with that galid stare.
Why?
Huh? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but the facade was torn off me in the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look, it informed me of Rena's response faster than she could open her mouth.
Why have you been lying to me? I wonder.
I'm not lying.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie.
Lies!
Rena's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Rena and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar, but still chained door could afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me. Shall I
guess your dinner? Keiichi-kun, let's see.
I knew now that Rena had already known that my parents would not be here tonight, but it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there was no way she'd be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know? It was instant.
Cup noodles? That's right, isn't it?
That I was going to eat. Wait, the cooking repertoire of my man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing.
I don't think you'll be full with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot.
Calm down, Keiichi Maribara. This was just coincidence. Rena just reading certain tales of mine. So the fact that she was inferring that what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she actually reading my mind. If it was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that, they couldn't possibly exist.
Do you like them?
Do you mean noodles?
No.
I don't know what that says. Rena indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Her rebuttal was so short I momentarily didn't understand the words Rena had spoken. Sorry, Rena. What did you say just now?
Huh? About what?
Just now, you asked me if there was something I liked, didn't you? I wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I'd pushed forward with that question. That was such a simple answer. That's why I wasn't able to comprehend it.
Pork bone and ginger flavor?
Oh, shit. She fucking knows. She'd been inside my house already. I wonder how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. As my field of vision began to distort, I slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance. How do you know that? I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Rena even know this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Rena, but she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that. I certainly did buy them. I bought a bunch at once. I bought a whole case. How could you know that?
Why, I wonder? Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it?
How could you dodge the question at a time like this? The chain and door suddenly were no longer protecting me. How do you know? Why do you know? Answer me!
You bought them at 7th Mart, didn't you?
A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade. Like I said, why do you know that?
I was behind you, following you the whole time.
What are you saying? I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me this whole time.
That's because Rena was right behind Keiichi-kun's back the whole time.
Like that night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Oshi-san. I didn't sense her behind me. Standing behind the door? Behind me. Standing there. Just like that?
When Keiichi was picking out the noodles, I was watching the entire time. You picked out so many different flavors, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were going to pick the expensive ones, then you should just pick one type, she said.
Then Keiichi-kun picked out that big box of pork bone and ginger flavor that he loves so much, didn't he?
I like it too. Pork bone noodles. But I can never eat a whole big bowl by myself.
My brain was paralyzed, dulling with my senses. It might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling in non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloped my mind was cleared away. Then I could answer what Rena was saying and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. It didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step backwards. As I withdrew, Rena advanced.
So, Keiichi-kun, can you open this? We can eat together. I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so, okay?
Rena's pale, slender fingers squirmed the crack of the door at the same time, as if they had mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Rena didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light.
Open up, Keiichi-kun.
Please go away. I beg you, please go away.
How can you say something so mean, I wonder? I wonder.
Please go away. Go away. Go away. The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering it just exploded. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked Rena momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing, and the source of it was Rena's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like tendrils of carnivorous plant through the crack of the doorway.
It hurts! It hurts, Keiichi-kun! It hurts! Oh!
It was a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp she was trying to keep back. Go away! Go away! Go away! I kept on pulling the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door, at least momentarily, Rena wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing.
It really hurts, Keiichi-kun. I'm sorry if I was messing around too much. Ow!
I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything.
It hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go away. Go away. Go away! Rena couldn't even leave if she wanted to because I've trapped her fingers. Rena's white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go away. Go away. Go away.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Rena's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away, go away, go away, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Rena's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed loudly and I could hear the thud of Rena falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately and made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Rena.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Keiichi-kun, I'm sorry. Open up, Keiichi-kun.
Rena leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away to the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Rena echoing her apology.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Those pitiful words, they would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all, but that wasn't out of the sort of malice. I felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Rena. Before, Mia had threatened me at this doorway, saying there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Rena told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise my face, my fact my parents weren't home, had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out and not even open the door. My meager plans hadn't helped at all. In Himizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Rena as possible. 1 step, 2 steps, with each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. As you would expect, I was finally no longer able to hear Rena repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed. It was the receiver. I'd finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Oshi-san. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? I had talked with Rena for too long. How did almost no time pass? But the hand on the clock was ticking forward, 1 second every second, as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time which felt frozen began moving once again. Hello, Oshi-san? Sorry to keep you waiting. No, not at all. I didn't wait that long. It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Oshi-san was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from the sports program or something that drove home just how far away Oshi-san really was. Rita just came now. Did she come play? No. I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Oshi-san, but I didn't need that right now. I needed to know about Rena. That's right, I was planning to ask Oshi-san more about Rena, but Rena's little visit had interrupted my conversation. What? Say she tried to break into your house just now. That's true. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Oshi-san about her. Up until now, I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. But looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No, rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't. Regarding Rena Ruga-san, I did a bit of digging. Well, yeah, it wasn't much. I understood that Oshi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're her friend. I want to know everything from your research. I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say, though. Oshi-san. I spoke as calmly as possible to Oshi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. Oshi-san, I need you to come right now. Right now. There's somebody trying to break into my house right now. Why aren't you saying that, Keiichi? Why are you so stupid? Why are you such a stupid moron? Oh my god. I spoke as calmly as possible to Oshi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue, and then I said it. I think Rina Rugu is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Orochi-Osama's curse, Rina Rugu is involved. Do you have some sort of proof that makes you believe Rina-san is suspicious? She just tried to break into my house. Why aren't you saying that, bro? The manner in which Oshi-san spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. She stalked me and she tried to break into my house. Say that right now, Keiichi. I see. I could tell even over the phone how disappointed Oshi-san was. Oh my god. Pulling on the fishing line, he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait, disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more. That's how it seemed. Oshi-san, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there. As Oshi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine. It's fine, Maybar-san. I'll protect you. That was not the least bit reassuring. Oshi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed and my corpse would be an unimportant piece of evidence. That was all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead may be of no concern to your investigation, but it's all over for me when I die. Oshi-san went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Oshi-san was that I was currently in a very dangerous position. So please tell me. Tell me about Rina. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future, I'll probably Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future, I'll probably also do that. Rina called transferring out as well. But you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't been able to find Satoshi's body yet. Alright, Maebara-san, please calm down. I was already suppressing my agitation, even when Oshi-san having to tell me. I wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust of the police. It would seem that I could only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect myself. Then, I at least wanted to know about what happened before Rina transferred schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Oshi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now to me, there is nothing that I won't find uninteresting. Please. There are a few things I need you to agree to. Okay. Please keep this confidential. Also, part of my way is speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? It may not be true? I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Rinarugu has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this is an investigation of Rina, done by the police, and is a personal inquiry, is what you're saying. This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls or meetings or interviews, so they aren't corroborated. I'm asking you to take this all with a grain of salt is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of it just from what you heard? Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. The thing before, you said you saw Rina's chart, didn't you? I'm sure I heard you say that. Oshi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line. I told you that? Please, pretend you didn't hear anything about that. I didn't care about Oshi-san having a certain obligations or responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if there was just rumors, there's no smoke without fire after all. Please tell me, Oshi-san. Understood? Oshi-san finally opened those tight lips of his. Seemed that Rina lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture after she finished elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking school windows had happened. Then Rina confided to the doctor it was Urashio-sama. This was all that he knew. There isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Maebara-san. What part did you investigate further? I didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just before she transferred. The incident Rina was responsible for and what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? The incident Rina was responsible for and what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? Yeah. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Rina and the others, didn't you? Yeah, I suspect them. So, you're the ones after all. Or they're the ones. No, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Oshi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Then who do you suspect? That it was Urashio-sama. Huh? That Urashio-sama's curse really exists. That Urashio-sama's curse really exists? Yeah, right, well, no. That Urashio-sama's curse really exists? Yeah, right, well, Oshi-san's laugh was quite dry, certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Oshi resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance, the course of events up until the start of delving into Rina's past. Just then there was thunder in the distance and heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, rain so heavy it felt like it could beat you down. I felt the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly. What is it? Nothing. It suddenly started raining heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up while still on the phone and closed the window.
I said at the beginning it was an incident, but because neither the school nor the victims filed charges, the police were never involved. So you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk, regardless of their being a victim who had one eye beaten so badly that had a permanent damage. Damn. Could have been the school or possibly some individual who had made agreements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about the professional ethics. Hello? Maybar-san, can you hear me? There was the figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In this shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand was a stack of boxes wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she had had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that at this time I was more enthralled by Rina instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Oshi-san? He's not fucking saying anything. If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. That I wouldn't have noticed Rina, nor would I have noticed that. Rina's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something, she was repeating something. What was it? What was she repeating? To me? What was she saying? And why was I right up against the window fixated on her? Hello? Maybar-san, can you hear me? Hello? I'm sorry. Huh? Maybar-san. I'm sorry. 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 Hello? Maybar-san, what's the matter? Even in this torrential downpour, Rina was still apologizing. The other self inside of me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand blocking the view of the outside. But even doing that, Rina's relentless apology still reached my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. 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 Damn it! Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive. 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 I won't forgive. Maybar-san, if you can hear me, then please respond. Hello? I received new tips. Oh my god. Dude, I feel like sick, bro. I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to remain mentally stable. Hypothetically, poor people imagining themselves as wealthy is a form of escapism, is it not? What? Is this a form of multiple personality disorder? I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. It's something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that and some who disagree. There is no consensus. There's no consensus. Then is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon, something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? Unfortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope in the future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities?
Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have had some abnormal mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Right after these commercials. At the 7th Market. The 7th Mart was a bargain market with food and alcohol. What's this, Keiichi? So many. There's no reason to get all the different kinds in there. I flopped the different color cup noodles in the chart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently, and there are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try.
Keiichi, buy them in a bag, Chase. It's cheaper.
Dad, fuck. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Dad knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only eat one kind. I get bored with it. I was existing as a formality. I had already given up inside. I wasn't sure which case of noodles to get.
If you can't pick,
Then Mom will pick for you. You don't have to rush me.
You don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the case of noodles for what I want. Pork bone and ginger large cup. Hey, Keiichi, can't you get more normal one? If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of the safety and get soy sauce or salt flavored. Pork bone is good. I don't want a big bowl of tasteless stuff. I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. In this frozen memory of time, the encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Rena. I rewound the situation, searching. But of course, I couldn't find her. Then, was she spying on me from the blind spot? I'll go through the sound and presence again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they pleased. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be there. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if something was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused, my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles, running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was the presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing it was after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to the moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat at every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sound of those bare footsteps going pit-pat were right behind me. Me running around gleefully in the closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't think I'd heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. In the moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I had run at the time. I couldn't turn around. I had turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. At the time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed me 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was at the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move, as if I was sewn into the moment of time. Pit-pat. My past self hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now it's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved, so he shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move, so he shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move? Like how the presence was moving behind me. I quickly realized I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time, but I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like needle being stuck in my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. Whoa! I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What? What is this? The situation in front of my eyes, it was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juice the way you would with an apple. My mind was being eaten. It began to munch down, slurping the juices because it was like an apple. Meaning, what was it? What was in front of me? Wow. That is mysterious. Wow. Sorry to say it, but I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. Love you.